everyone, welcome back to our podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us, Kavishwar Khankari. He is currently pursuing his undergraduation at Pune Vidyarthi Griha's College of Engineering and is working as a DevOps engineer at a New York based company called Datalogs. Kavishwar is well versed in the field of IoT, robotics, self hosting cloud services, and many more. In this episode, we'll dive deep into his journey, his experiences, how to grow in this competitive field, and much more. I am Prathamesh Gauri as today's podcast host. So sit back, tune in, and let's get started. Hello, Kavishwar. How are
Hello,
you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, answer me this. What are you currently working on right now?
Currently, I'm working on a hybrid cloud project,
Okay.
in which the scaling the default load, means the load which is consistent, is directed towards on-prem servers, which are cost efficient but harder to set up.
Okay.
But and the spiking load, which uh, spikes in the load, are outsourced to cloud. So which are not that quite cost efficient, but are can provide us compute power on demand.
Okay.
So combining pros and cons of both cloud and on-prem, this project gives us the best cost optimization for a company.
Okay. That's some heavy stuff. Okay. So you're well versed in many fields. Like example, you're well versed in robotics, in electronics, in IoT, and even in DevOps. Like currently, if I'm not wrong, you're currently pursuing your career in DevOps, right?
Yes.
So just could you tell us what DevOps actually is? Like even for many undergraduates in CS and IT, they don't have a clear idea of what DevOps is. So could you just tell us about it?
DevOps is the bridge between development and deployment.
Okay.
So development means creating a, and deployment means deploying the app for the users to use it.
Okay.
Every development has its own jargons. Deployment also has its own jargons. Now the DevOps engineer bridges the gap between these two teams.
Okay.
So the DevOps work is to understand what development does. DevOps guys' work is also to understand what deployment does.
Okay.
So to seamlessly integrate both of these teams, to reduce the deployment time, to reduce the market time, is the work of DevOps guy.
Okay.
In basic.
So in business term, we can consider it like a production line for more software oriented projects and stuff.
Yes, we can say that. But DevOps also has many other branching terms also, like MLOps, AIOps. As we know currently, machine learning and LLMs have taken a spike in their
Yes.
popularity.
Yes.
So to deploy all of these LLMs, like where does OpenAI run its LLMs? Where do we access it? How do we access it?
Okay.
So all of this also are handled by DevOps guys, but the guys which handle ML and AI deployments are called as MLOps and AIOps engineers.
Okay. So it can be considered more of a specification
Yes,
in DevOps.
it is extremely specific.
Okay. So my next question for you is that there are like many mainstream fields as of now. Like many of the freshers or undergraduates go for position or titles like that of a full stack developer or an app developer or even ML developer or AI developer. So why did you specifically select DevOps?
Because first of all, as you said, most of the undergraduates find full stack development or front end, back end development the most easiest,
Okay.
because all of the mainstream media which the undergraduates access has the most popular content about full stack front end back end development.
Okay.
It isn't like DevOps is hard, it isn't like front end is easy, but the popularity, or we can say the rat race, gives front end full stack web development the most easiest access to learn. That's why
Okay.
most undergraduates prefer to learn that first and then move into specific fields.
Okay.
And for me, I was extremely interested in deployment, servers, cloud.
Okay. Yes.
So instead of delving deep into web development, I explored web development, but I didn't delve deep into it and moved on to DevOps. Not specifically DevOps, I moved on to cloud, servers, this whole field.
Okay. So from here, like I just mentioned it before, you have worked on various fields. So let's just go through one of them as of now. In 8th standard, you started with electronics and working on them on PCBs and many more stuff. Could you just tell me more about it?
Okay, so I will tell you a story about it.
Yeah, sure.
So my father is an electrical engineer,
Okay.
and at my house, all of these little ICs, all of those jugaad stuff was always lying around.
Okay.
And I always observed my father, like he always used to fix things in a very creative way.
Okay.
So I got inspiration from him, and then I started to do what I started to try to do what he was doing.
Okay.
So through that, my interest in electronics developed. Then I started to ask him, what is this, what is that. He explained me very calmly, very neatly, what is that, what is this. He used to sit me on his lap and explain me every little detail.
Okay.
Like you should explain little kid, not in a very complex manner.
Okay.
That was the biggest step I took in my life, I will say, in learning in my curious field.
Okay.
From there, my curiosity for learning began. Then I started to explore how things work, how little things do their own work,
Okay.
how this world works, not just technically but spiritually also. Then we'll get back to our topic.
Yes.
From it, I started to delve into electronics projects. I started to explore what are diodes, what are resistors, what are
Okay.
transistors, how are they made, how they function. Then I started to build little projects out of them. Then, as every little kid must have done in their childhood, they took the remote control car and disassembled it
Yes.
and removed a motor from them.
Yes.
That was me also, like every little kid. But instead of just removing the motor and showing it to all other, look, I removed a motor, I did a little extra. I added transistors to it.
Okay.
I built my own car out of chopsicle sticks out of those motors
Okay.
removed from RC control cars. All of this sparked came out of the curiosity of tinkering with things,
Okay.
not fearing what might go wrong, but just doing it and facing the consequences.
Okay.
That is the main mindset that everyone must follow. So then I started to explore more and more stuff. I stumbled upon Internet of Things field. In that, there is a microcontroller named as ESP32.
Yes.
Which is, I can say, an all-rounder microcontroller for a beginner and for an intermediate level also.
Okay.
So it contains Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, everything. So it basically has everything which we need to learn about modern embedded electronics.
Okay.
So I delved into ESP32, learned about it, did many projects about it.
Yes.
So from there I started to automate my own house.
Okay.
So in my house, in my room, I automated my fans, my lights, everything.
Yes.
And all of this was automated using a third-party app called as Blink.
Okay.
I didn't want to rely on third-party services and give them my own data. So then I moved into server stuff.
Okay.
Because I wanted to host my own home assistant, my own home automation software.
Okay.
Then I stumbled upon servers. Then as I stumbled upon servers, I moved into DevOps field. Then as I moved into DevOps, I currently am in DevOps. I currently am tinkering with DevOps field. Then we will see what future holds.
Okay. So just to kind of chunk it up a bit, first you started with all the electronics and learned all the basics of it from the diodes and resistors and all those stuff. Then you moved on to a next level, we could say, that is IOT, and worked on microcontrollers and microprocessors. From then you moved on to what we can say creating virtual machines out of the what we can say remote PCs and all those stuff, and from those you have came to DevOps, right? So you mentioned that you have done home automation. So could you just tell us more about it in the sense of the technicality that you implemented here or used?
So as I said, I made use of ESP32.
Okay.
It is an all-rounder chip. Anyone can use it anywhere. What can I say? How should I explain this? So imagine a home which can control its own hands, its own legs.
Okay.
That is what a smart home is.
Yes.
You don't have to go and move the wooden puppet using your own hands.
Yes.
But a smart home is a robot which has its own motors, and you instruct it to do the movement and it does the movement.
Yes.
That's what a smart home is. So I made my home smart using IoT
Yes.
concept, And in technicality, you can say I use IoT sensors
Hmm.
for the brain and relays for
Yes.
switching stuff. Means
Okay.
switching a light, switching a fan. Then I used capacitors and diodes combos for turning on for switching the fan speed,
Yes.
because it doesn't have because relays only turn on and off the appliance, but to change the fan speed we need a very different circuit. Then all of this must be hard coded, means hardwired.
Yes.
Soft wiring means taking a PCB and soldering all of the stuff yourself.
Okay.
It is very fragile. If a single solder joint breaks, then all of your circuit goes down, and
Okay.
you have to find in a whole jungle of wires where the joint broke.
Yes.
That is very time consuming and very bad. So as you can see, all of the electronics in today's world are based on PCB, printed circuit boards.
Yes.
In that all of the wirings are printed and printed using copper and laminated on top of it.
Yes.
So I printed circuit boards, designed my circuit boards, made them modular so that the brain of the IoT part and the controlling, means the relay part, are separate. Means I only have to build a single brain part and a single brain part, and I can connect multiple controller parts to it.
Okay.
That was the main idea, and it helped me in future a lot. So that's what you can say.
Okay, so right now you mentioned something about building your own PCBs and customizing it. I heard it from you itself that in your early days you kind of built your own custom PCBs and sold it to the local vendors. But in that whole process you had some complications regarding importing the PCBs from China. So could you just elaborate more on that?
Okay, so PCB making, manufacturing, printing is a very time intensive and resource intensive task.
Okay.
India has various fabricators, fabs, which print PCBs, but they are specialized. Means
Okay.
they take bulk orders, or if they take normal retail orders, then they are quite expensive.
Okay.
So I had no other choice but to import from China fabricators, the fabricators which sell for retail and for cheap.
Okay.
So I made my custom designs, sent the order to China fabricators, and as they were, India has very tight restrictions on imports.
Okay. Especially with China, I guess.
Especially with China. So every package needs to be declared what it has in it, and it needs to be passed through customs.
Okay.
And customs blindly charge anything. They don't look at what is in the box. They just see the bill and just take a percent of it and charge it as customs.
Okay.
Customs charge. So to pass the product from China to India, it needs to pass through customs, and to pass through customs we need to pay a fee, customs fee.
Okay.
That is quite an exorbitant fee, because if it is a suspicious product, they might charge you 100% of your bill.
Okay.
So it was quite a large bill for me
Okay.
at that time, and I was staking my father's trust on me at that time, and I must say I really value those PCBs. I still have them with me.
Okay.
I still have those PCBs with me. I still use them because those took a lot of monetary value. Then that's it. Those are the basic jargons which you can face while importing from China PCBs.
Okay, so you mentioned that India doesn't have much of a manufacturing facility as of now for PCBs and even semiconductors. So this is quite a tangential question for our topic. Regarding the current geopolitical situation between USA and China regarding the semiconductors war, do you think that India could start businesses in this direction regarding manufacturing?
So India is, I can say, at that time was lacking behind, but India right now is playing really strategically, because India also knows that it doesn't have the monetary funds and capacity and the brain power to build chips which are in the less than 10 nanometer range. Means
Okay.
those chips which are used in computers, those chips which are used in your mobile phones, those chips are really expensive and require quite a lot of trending, means the latest technology to build them.
Okay.
But India right now is playing on semiconductors which are greater than 10 nanometer technology.
Okay.
Means those semiconductors which are used as your what can I say, diodes, which are used in other integrated circuits, which are not required to be that quite power efficient, but need a fabricator to but need a semiconductor silicon chip
Okay.
to print on them. So India is currently increasing their production in this sector.
So my next question for you is that in your school days, you had made it to the local headlines through by conducting kind of a RoboWar in your city. So could you just tell us more about that?
Okay, so this was a fun project between me and one of my friend.
Okay.
My friend is also interested in robotics. Currently, he is pursuing degree in robotics right now. And what we wanted to do was, there is a concept called as RoboWars, in
Okay.
which there is a fight between robots, and the one which renders the other robot immovable first wins. So we wanted to do a little kind of arena robot kind of thing in our 9th 10th standard, and we built some basic robots out for this, and attached some basic weapons which might render the robot which is in front of us immovable. And we competed against each other robots only, and we wanted to all of our friends to experience this also.
Okay.
So there was a talent competition, or we can say
Okay.
farewell kind of thing for our seniors. On that day we created an arena and give the remote controls to our friends seniors to operate it, and they enjoyed a lot from it. The battling between robots is, what can I say, a dream for every boy, I would
Yes.
say.
Yes.
So everyone enjoyed it. Local news reporters were also there. I don't know from where they got the information, but they also came to report all of this. We made it into the newspaper headlines for one day. That was quite an unexpected experience, but it was quite fateful for us, because through that we got many referrals to other universities also, and then we decided to compete in many other robotics competitions also.
Okay. So uh, you mentioned earlier that you have done some work in self-hosting and virtualizations and all those stuff. So could you just tell us more about that and how it is going?
Okay, so first of all, I will say what is cloud. Cloud is nothing but another person's computer.
Yes.
Cloud is nothing like a cloud is not, what can I say, not an immovable or ununderstandable thing for people. Cloud is basically another person's computer. We can build our own cloud by using our own computers.
Yes.
That is what we call self-hosting.
Yes.
There are a lot of open source apps for open source alternatives for mainstream apps.
Okay.
We can self-host them and use our own services, and all of this is included in self-hosting.
Okay.
So my journey started from, as I said earlier, I wanted to self-host my own home automation software
Okay.
for IoT. Then I delved into server. I got to know what servers are. I got to know what server-specific hardware is. I bought some second-hand hardware for servers. I modified some hardware for my specific use cases.
Okay.
Then I got to know what are hypervisors.
Okay. Yes.
Hypervisors allowed me to host multiple virtual machines on a single physical node, which opened a new realm of hosting for me, because I can spin up a new operating system immediately and test on it, do many things on it, do experimentation on it. I was not bound by the fear of losing all of my important data.
Okay.
So this fueled my curiosity in my mind. I started to experiment a lot of things. I started to doing a lot of open source contributions
Okay.
on open source websites. That's it, we can say.
Okay. So if a new student per se in his first year or second year, if he wanted to get into self-hosting, what would be the steps he should, work on? Like, what are the steps to learn it, implement it?
Okay, so self-hosting first of all needs, I will say, quite a really good interest
Okay.
in what you're doing, in knowing what you're doing.
Okay.
Self-hosting isn't a piece of work, isn't a piece of chocolate for everyone.
Okay.
Self-hosting needs a specific dedicated time which you need to give it,
Okay.
and self-hosting needs maintenance,
Okay.
because maintenance is what makes the servers uh, costly. That's why cloud providers charge so much for us, so much from us, because they have to maintain all of these costly servers.
Okay.
And self-hosting them means taking all of the maintenance work on ourselves.
Okay.
So for a first year student, I will say if they have a specific laptop laying around which they are not using, they can use that for self-hosting, but don't go beyond that.
Okay.
First experiment with cloud servers, then if you have confidence that you need cost efficient and cheap solutions for your self-hosting, your needs are increasing, then you can move to on-premise servers.
Okay. So can you enlist some of the applications that you have hosted? Like I know one of Jellyfin. So,
Yes, yes.
yes.
I will not take specific names, but I will tell you genus
Okay.
what applications you can host.
Okay.
First of all, you can host your own self-hosted DNS.
Okay.
Means right now, if I want to search google.com, to get its IP address, I need to first go to my ISP.
Yes.
Then ISP has cached all of the DNS records. Then it comes to me.
Yes.
But all of this removes all of the transparency, all of the private part from us, because
Okay.
our ISP knows exactly what we are searching.
Yes.
So by self-hosting my own DNS, I take the control of my DNS from my ISP
Okay.
and take it in my own hands. So no search data in incognito mode, in normal mode, no search data gets out of my own hands.
Okay.
This is very important if you value what you're searching.
Okay.
Then another is self-hosting my own media server. Means, as you know, Netflix. Netflix
Yes.
is what provides us streaming services, streaming
Yes.
videos for us, and we all have some pirated content with us.
Yes.
But all of that is stored in some hard disk in a closet somewhere, and we can access it by plugging it into our computer.
Yes.
But it is very tedious to access it from mobile. Let's
Yes.
say I want to watch a movie, but that is in my hard disk. Then I have to connect it to my mobile, transfer all of the data, and what if my mobile doesn't have storage?
Okay.
So all of these are various concerns which force us to buy Netflix subscriptions,
Yes.
which is, I can say, handicapping ourselves,
Yes.
breaking our own legs and hands. Even if we have the movie, we pay Netflix for watching it. That is, I feel very handicapped because of it.
Okay.
So to self-hosting our own media servers means connect the hard disk which has all of the media to a server, or you can say laptop, and hosting it means providing all of that content through network
Okay.
to all of the devices which can access it. So this is what basically Netflix does.
Yes.
We do it by self-hosting.
Okay.
That's it. We can host our own media servers. Then we can host our own password managers.
Okay.
Means all of the passwords are stored locally. None of it gets outside of your own house. We can host Docker containers. I will get into technical stuff now. All of this what can I say, stuff for normal people are done. Then I will get into technical DevOps part. We can host Docker containers. We can host
Okay.
Kubernetes clusters using our own
Yes.
servers. We can host network attached storage NAS to store all of our content.
Yes.
We can use VPNs to access our network attached storage in a
Okay.
secure way. That's it. We basically can self-host everything which Google, Amazon, Netflix provides.
Okay.
That's it.
So, if anyone wants to learn self-hosting more about it, is there any particular resources or YouTube channels which you would recommend them?
Okay, so as I said in earlier part of my podcast, there is not a single source of information which explains what DevOps is.
Okay.
DevOps is a culture.
Okay.
DevOps, not specifically DevOps, but all of this deployment, hardware, server, site reliability engineering, all of this stuff doesn't have a concentrated source to learn from.
Okay.
But web development, full stack, backend,
Hmm.
everything has a single source. That's why most students opt to learn web development.
Okay.
So there is not a single resource for learning what I'm telling you. But if you want to learn a specific topic, if you want to learn a specific concept, you can search it up, and there are a lot of videos about it.
Okay.
So basically, all of the nitpicking means knowing what you have to learn and what is efficient for what is the most efficient way for you to learn
Hmm.
is the most hardest part of learning,
Okay.
and this is what makes DevOps and deployment engineers really valuable to companies,
Okay.
because they learn practically and they have to implement all of the stuff they learn themselves.
Okay.
They know what they're doing.
Hmm. Okay. So my next question for you is that I guess you told it to me earlier, or previous talks, I guess, that you created kind of a custom power source as a backup for your home.
Mhm.
Could you just elaborate more on that? That what actually did you do on that?
Okay, so uh, there's a problem I was encountering on my laptop. There are two charging ports on my laptop. One is a normal uh, power cord which the
Okay.
company provides, and my laptop can also be powered using Type C
Yes.
charger. So I had this urge that I want a single charger for all of my devices.
Okay.
Means my mobile charges from Type C, my headset charges from Type C.
Yes.
Then why can't my laptop also charge from Type C?
Yes.
Then I bought a Type C charger for my laptop.
Okay.
For some time my need was satisfied.
Hmm.
But then as I started to move to college
Okay.
and started to extensively use my laptop outside of my home or away from power sources,
Okay.
I started to feel the need of a power bank
Okay.
which can power my phone also and my laptop also.
Okay.
And then I stumbled upon the idea, the concept that the power banks which output more than 20 watts are really expensive and
Okay.
are not are not mainstream.
Hmm.
So I wanted a cheaper alternative
Hmm.
to charge my laptop using a power bank.
Okay.
So for that I did basically what a EV company does,
Hmm.
electric vehicle company. I made a lithium ion batteries power bank,
Hmm.
attached a BMS to it, and to power my laptop I used a 12 volt car charger.
Okay.
In that we plug it into a car module,
Yes.
and it takes battery from car. It takes power from car battery, 12 volt power,
Yes.
and it converts it into appropriate sources, appropriate voltage and current, and gives power to laptop.
Okay.
So I did this jugaad, and we can say I created a jugaad power bank for my laptop.
Okay.
That's it.
So my next question for you is that many students who want to pursue what you did and basically want to learn more about the hardware part, including the IoT, robotics, they kind of face through a dilemma that maybe working on a hardware or dedicating your time to it won't be as rewarding as maybe working on a more software technological perspective. Like if you would learn maybe machine learning or more about AI, they think that it would be more rewarding to them. So could you just clarify more on it?
It all boils down to one factor: is what you believe yourself, what you can do, and the fear factor which you currently embed in yourself.
Okay.
If you fear that learning this will not give you enough output, then why to learn it?
Yes.
If you think learning something doesn't give you anything, then don't learn anything.
Yes.
If learning something gives you the experience of learning it, you can use it somewhere else.
Okay.
Do not think that learning something doesn't give you anything if you don't achieve what your main goal was. The moment you learn something, you have achieved a lot of things.
Okay.
So, for my advice for all of the freshers and all of the people who would think that hardware is really hard to implement, hardware is really hard to learn,
Okay.
need to overcome one thing: the fear factor in their mind. Do not fear to experiment. Do not fear to tinker with things.
Okay.
That's it.
That's it. So let's move on to the next question. Could you tell something about the projects that you have worked on till now in the field of maybe DevOps?
Okay, so I will not go specifically into DevOps, but a lot of other projects I also
Sure.
done. So the basic server project which I did in my first server project
Okay.
was building my own NAS, network attached storage. I totally removed all of my family's cloud storage accounts, and all of my family now uses the storage which I self-host.
Okay.
My father is a lawyer. He uses all my cloud infrastructure to store all of his important documents.
Okay.
I use encryption techniques. I use VPN to
Okay.
securely store all of this data, and only he can access this data. This was my one basic project.
Okay.
And after that, Home Assistant. Currently, I control all of my home using Home Assistant server.
Okay.
All of my home is automatized. Then, second project which I can say is I built my own Docker VM in which I deploy all of my production Docker containers.
Okay.
I experiment with it a lot. Then the next big project which I did was buying a new server, creating a 3-node cluster,
Okay.
and deploying a Kubernetes cluster on the 3 nodes.
Okay.
So this was a very tedious task because Kubernetes isn't easy to deploy on by yourself.
Okay.
You have to learn every nook and cranny about the Kubernetes infrastructure and how it works.
Yes.
That is quite a difficult task. It took me quite a lot of time. Then these are all the basic projects which are base of many other projects. I
Okay.
won't go into specific detail about them
Hmm.
because I can't disclose information about them.
Okay.
Personal projects.
Okay.
So that's it. These are my basic projects.
Okay. So we talked about your self-hosting services as well previously. In that we basically configure all of your hardware and kind of what we can say, use it as a cloud, right? So what kind of technical specifications do we look here in case suggesting suppose the RAM or the storage and all those stuff? Could you just tell us more about it?
Okay, so for a server, RAM is, I can say, the most important part,
Okay.
because if you want to host multiple operating system, multiple uh, virtual machines on a single node, physical node,
Okay.
you need a hypervisor, and a hypervisor allocates RAM in blocks.
Okay.
So if you dedicate 4 GB of your memory to a specific virtual machine, it cannot be used by another virtual machine.
Okay.
Some hypervisors allow dynamic allocation,
Hmm.
but you cannot go above the specified hardware limit.
Okay.
So maximizing the amount of RAM which you can buy is the most important part of your buying your or self-hosting your own hardware. And then next comes the generation of the processor you buy.
Okay.
Most of the Intel processors come with a modern architecture and CPU codecs, and their integrated graphics is also a main part, because decoding and encoding the video streams of your
Yes.
own Netflix server is an important part, because if the playing device is incompatible with the stream which the server is streaming,
Okay.
then it needs to be transcoded, and it is a quite a heavy task for CPU for software encoding decoding.
Okay.
Dedicated hardware takes all of the load and takes it into itself. Then storage is a main part, because having reliable storage is really necessary, because servers do this little write operations of logs,
Yes.
little write operations of logs onto the storage disk you use.
Okay.
And a lot of storage disks are made, cheap storage disks are made for sequential writes, means writing long or huge amount of data at once.
Hmm.
They are not designed or not meant for random read writes, means little reads, little writes from random locations.
Okay.
And servers do this most of the time. So selecting the most appropriate storage is also necessary, because if your storage fails, then what, your whole server is down. What about RAM? What about CPU?
Okay.
Storage is really important. That's it, we can say.
Okay. So I guess you had done another project, something like that of a blogging setup. Just could you tell us more about it? I found it interesting.
Okay, so one thing I will say about all of the journey I have talked about, I learned a very valuable lesson. Documenting everything which you do is the most important thing which you can learn at the earliest point in your life.
Okay.
Without documenting, you will get lost in your future.
Hmm.
So I try to inculcate all of these values in my current and future projects also. I started documenting everything, every little command, every little action I take in my projects every day. I started to document everything in a note-taking app called as Obsidian.
Okay.
The Obsidian uses Markdown language to specify how the notes are written,
Okay.
and I have a whole extensive library of all of the things I have done, all of the notes I have taken, which help me in my future and my current projects also. If I want to peek into my past, like what I did at this specific time, I do not need to do Google. I just look into my own notes, and then I get the answers.
Okay.
And the current I stumbled upon a problem for this. I learned from somewhere that learning in public is really important.
Okay.
Because what I did was I shut myself in a room and learned and learned and learned. But people don't know what I'm learning, what I'm doing. So from past few months, I am trying to be vocal about what I'm learning.
Okay.
I'm trying to learn in public. So for that, I wanted to publish all of the documents which I have, all of the docs, all of my knowledge, previous knowledge, onto my own website.
Okay.
Or onto my blogging website, or where you can read all of these documents which I have created. So for this, I stumbled upon a software known as Hugo, which takes Markdown files, converts them into static HTML CSS format, and then publishes it. We can see our Markdown files as static websites.
Okay.
So as I'm a DevOps guy, I love to automate everything.
Yes.
So I automated my process of writing my notes. Then just on a single button click on shortcut, all of the documents are copied from my own personal folder to the public folder where all of the documents which I want to show to the world are there.
Okay.
And then all of these documents are then converted into static code and then pushed onto GitHub. And then my own server detects these changes and updates the website. So all of this process is automated. I just need to write my documents, format it neatly, and on a press of a shortcut, under 5 minutes, my website is updated.
Okay. So that's all for this section. We'll be moving on to the last section of our podcast.
Okay.
So here we'll be talking about. Okay, so let's just get started with the questions. Since you have learned IoT, since you have learned home automation, since you have learned server hosting, are there any particular YouTube channels you would suggest or any particular resources for students to grow as such?
I don't remember any specific names, but let me think. For DevOps for cloud, there is a specific website named as Code Cloud.
Okay.
Which provides a lot of resources which are valuable, extremely valuable. I have learned a lot from them. Then there are some YouTubers named Saminder Puri.
Okay.
Whose spiritual idea, whose mindset about DevOps, I love him. I love the way he thinks.
Okay.
Then there is another person named as Abhishek Viramala.
Okay.
He teaches DevOps in a very simple manner, like how you should teach a little child how to eat a chocolate.
Okay.
That's how he teaches. That's it. Then there are no specific channels, I will say.
Okay.
You have to search about a topic and then learn from all of the channels that are there.
Okay. So here's my next question to you. Let's say that you're well versed in 3 of these particular fields, which is DevOps, then IoT and robotics per se. Many of the students know what we could do in robotics per se, But could you just tell us more about the future opportunities in all of these three fields?
Okay, so I will say the future is not in a single field.
Hmm.
The future is in a combination of these fields and many more fields.
Hmm.
Because IoT combined with machine learning is a huge opportunity.
Hmm.
Robotics combined with AI machine learning is another huge opportunity. It can directly affect us human laborers.
Okay.
DevOps combined with cloud machine learning is another huge opportunity. So in this, I can say the future is a huge. Just learning basic concepts, knowing how things work, knowing how things move in these fields, keeping yourself updated about these fields, about the research and development that is done in these fields, I will say is enough for a beginner, for a fresher, to gain interest in these fields. And if you gain interest, then learning is easy part. So keep yourself updated. There is a huge opportunity in all of these fields. That's it.
Okay, so my next question might be a little tacky for you. What would be the message that, what would be the things that you would suggest to the Kavishwar 5 years ago?
This nothing.
Nothing?
Kavishwar 5 years ago, Kavishwar right now enjoys what he does.
Okay.
I will not suggest anything. I learned from my mistakes. I learned from what I did. I don't want to change anything.
That's a great approach. So, my next question to you is that if in the coming years, for any reasons or any circumstances, DevOps get cancelled out or isn't necessary to the market anymore, what would be your plan then? In what direction would you move?
Okay, so first of all, a field doesn't just go extinct.
Yes.
It evolves.
Yes.
Like how humans have evolved. So DevOps will certainly evolve and in a really fast pace in coming 5 years, because the growth and at the pace which software development is moving is really fascinating and is really fast. So we have to keep ourselves updated on what the new developments and research are being done. I will certainly say DevOps in coming 5 years will not be DevOps of what it is right now.
Okay.
The DevOps of 1 week ago is not similar to what DevOps is right now.
Okay.
It is really different. So if I want, that's it. Means if after 5 years I will be keeping myself updated. So what DevOps might change into MLOps, DevOps might change into AIOps, or some new name can come.
Yes.
I will be pursuing that. And if not DevOps, then I will be pursuing what my mind, what my inner feeling gives me the most appropriate feeling. I don't want to be a stale person. I always want to be curious and learn everything.
Okay.
I want to be a problem solver and not a stale person who just sits and enjoys coffee. I don't want to be that person.
That's not you.
Yes. I want to be a striver. I am a striver. I think everyone must be a striver. Not settling, learning how things work is the only lesson I will give.
Okay. So we'll be concluding our podcast. Is there any message that you would like to give to our audience?
I just gave it.
Okay. Well then, thank you for your time, Kavishwar. I hope it was a great experience for you, because it was for us. So then, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.